Another Sunday, another beautiful Sunday, 100 years enterprise. My name is Fahim.
I'm Dante.
I'm Patrick.
And again, Consequences of the Street Life, Season 4. And Brother Dante, Brother Raheem, you brought in this wonderful guest today. And please introduce the guest you brought in today.
Most definitely. Brother Marcus, him and his son, Marcus Jr. I think, man, you met about a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, about a year ago.
Last summer, like around right before school kicked off, we met at the backpack giveaway in Vallejo at the city park.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And reason why we got you on, man, because the work that you're doing with your son, right, is beautiful and it's not going unrecognized. And we know that the subject is the consequence of the street life, right? And so at some point, you was out there in the streets, right? And quite sure that your actions and things that you was involved in not just had an impact on your life, but also had an impact on your son's life. And so can you just touch on that just a little bit?
Well, it impacted my son like later down the line, because I jumped off the porch at like 18,
Okay.
right? I was basically, a preacher kid, so to speak, because I grew up in church. I was very prominently active in the church or whatnot. But when I got 18, I gave my parents the diploma and I wanted something different.
Yes.
I wanted something different that was more appealing to me.
Yes.
But what that actually was is I was lost.
Mm-hmm.
I was lost and I had a insatiable desire to be accepted and to be a part of, and so I was willing to do whatever just for that, which meant compromising my morals, my principles, my values, everything that my mom and my father installed in me. I left that on the porch when I jumped off the porch. So I jumped off at like 18. He didn't come along till years down the line, like when I was in my 30s. But I was so consumed in the streets, in the street life. One of the consequences of that, making that choice and making that decision and living that lifestyle, while his mom was pregnant with him, we had a situation where a home invasion happened. A home invasion happened, and that's as a result of my choices of the streets.
Yes.
They came in there and they intended to do harm, but luckily that she wasn't green to the streets, and her survival instincts kicked in. And when she seen her opportunity, she made her break for the door and got out of there, but it wasn't without consequences.
Yes.
She was, assaulted.
Okay.
She was assaulted, with a firearm. And that's all the while he was, in his mom's womb, and that's a result of my choices. That's what I brought home. That's what I brought to my doorstep as a result of, wanting to live that lifestyle and wanting to be a part of that lifestyle.
Question. In regards to when you said you just got off the porch, right? The point is of the show, 100 years is about consequences of street life, right? And we want to touch on that and make it very clear and valid to the audience, right, and who may be listening, that there's a difference from going to left and going right, right? And in our cases, we went left. But every time we talk to someone, it don't necessarily have to be about going left. What did you do when you went right? So when you say you jumped off the porch, I was curious, right? When you elaborate that point, right, before you got to a point where you got your life back on track. What was it like for you? What did you see? That's what I'm asking. What would you see when you jumped off the porch? Because you said at that point when I gave my parents my diploma, right? I'm like, that's not what I want. I graduated. Mm-hmm. What I'm getting ready to do when I get off this porch, explain that in regards to what was that like? What did you see? What attracted you?
What attracted me was the street life. The street life, homies out there on the block, getting money, hustling, the women that came with it, the fast cars, That's what was appealing to me, because I had a stigma growing up, and the stigma growing up was I was always compared to, Marcus, why you gonna be like such and such?
Yeah.
Marcus, why you don't be like such and such? Marcus, why you don't be like such and such, right? So then in my mind, I'm like, well, who is Marcus? Who is Marcus? You know what I mean? Because I never had the opportunity or never had that leeway or that room to find out who I am.
Yeah.
Who am I comfortable in, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm in a identity crisis, right?
Feeling like a nobody.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So now I'm feeling like, okay, I got to fit these different images to make my parents happy. You know what I'm saying? To where I get their acceptance, but then I still don't get their acceptance because I'm still compared to. I'm still being measured up to somebody else. You see what I'm saying? And so now I'm just like, well, I don't like these images. I don't like who you measure me up to. You know what I'm saying? And so, and it's in understanding that why I didn't do that. I don't do that with my son, because I realized what it did to me and how I felt. I didn't like it, because I didn't feel like I had an identity. So now, and wanting to be accepted with this group of people, with this crowd of people, this lifestyle. So now I had to create an image. I had to create an image that I could feel comfortable in, that went along with this, but then I still didn't feel a part of. I still just felt like I wasn't accepted. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so that's when I just was wilding and would do more stuff to win acceptance.
To win acceptance.
And at the end of the day, I still wasn't accepted.
Yeah. That's deep.
Which took me years to find out.
Thank you, Marcus.
Appreciate that, man.
Marcus Sr., Marcus Jr. And again, when we talk about the consequences of the street life, those consequences cause the separations, right? It pulls us. It pulls the family, breaks the family up, right? And you got Team Wood, right? Attwood.
Yes.
And growing up, when did you understand that it was necessary for you to be in your son's life while you was out there in the neck of the street life? Meaning he being a skateboarder, or you growing up in which your father or mother or family member was in the stands there for you when they wasn't there. When did you start to understand that with you for your son?
Well, I understood that early on because, I always yearned for that. I remember that vividly, asking, my parents, come to my games, come to my, because I was in bowling too. We was in the Junior Bowlers Association in Vallejo. The bowling alley ain't there no more. It used to be Kentwig. And I used to always, ask them to come to my games, my competitions. And they was there, but they wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So I can't just sit here and depict a picture like they wasn't there, but I wanted them more involved. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't there. And I know the feeling that I felt of it, I didn't like it. And I vowed to myself that my son was not going to feel that. You know what I'm saying? He was not going to feel that if I had anything to do with it, But there was a blockage. There was a blockage from me being that to my son, and the blockage was me. You know what I'm saying? The blockage was me, you know what I'm saying? And the vice that I had was alcohol. You know what I mean? And even before alcohol, my first love was the streets, because I loved it. I'm not going to lie. You know what I'm saying? But it took me too many years of my life to realize that it would never love me like the way that I wanted to be loved. So it's like that saying, looking for love in all the wrong places. You know what I'm saying? And I always came up short. It wasn't until I started loving myself and learned how to love myself that I now know how to, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Get out of my way and be able to be a better way in his life. You know what I'm saying?
And I see it. We can see it.
Yes, most definitely.
Marcus Jr., thank you for coming to the show.
All right, most definitely. And I want to say this to you, Marcus. The father that you are, right? The example that you are for your son, that's big, real big. Because when you just look around now in our communities, how so many fathers is not there for their kids. So for you to be doing what you're doing, I want to commend you on that. And I want to ask you this, though. So if you wouldn't have went through what you went through, do you think you would be the man that you are today? Meaning that the things that you've seen, outside of your home, that you gravitated to. So if you wouldn't have went through that, do you feel that you would have been the man that you is today?
Absolutely not.
Definitely.
Everything that happened in my life along the way, it didn't happen to me. It happened for me. It happened for me to be who I am today, to be who he needs in his life as a young African-American male coming up, and the stigmas that's out there and the hurdles, the obstacles. I always impress upon him to be yourself, be you, be your authentic self.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And if you different, it's okay to be different. You know what I'm saying? Because the right ones will accept you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I was scared to be different. I was scared to be different because I didn't want people to look at me. So if I'm a part of a group, then I'm blended. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm not necessarily standing out, and I was just lost. I was lost in the sauce. I had a lot of internal issues going on within me. You know what I'm saying? Being a product of sexual abuse.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Which is a elephant in the room.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Especially in the African American community.
Yes.
Growing up with that and keeping that bottled inside, that was a demon all of itself. And not understanding and not knowing how to deal with that, and it came out. It came out in my behaviors, but it wasn't until years later when this last trip into incarceration that I look back over my life in doing a fourth step, in the 12-step process, and looking back and looking at my behavior patterns and seeing the effects of that, I did a lot of damage. I did a lot of damage to myself.
Yes.
I did a lot, especially women.
Yes.
Yes. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a low self-worth of myself. Mm-hmm. So if I got a low self-worth of myself, how am I going to value anything else?
Exactly.
I can't give something I don't have.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I can't pour from an empty cup.
It's powerful that you say that too, man, because these issues that we talk about. And again, just for the audience watching, please subscribe to 100 Years Enterprise. Subscribe. These issues we talk about affects all communities, and that's what we're about, community healing. So back to you, it's powerful that you say that, right? Because the question I want to ask you lines on what you just said. What would you deem your triggers are?
For me, in having gone through the 12-step process, what triggers really are, triggers just reveal to me unhealed areas of my life.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Unhealed areas of my life, and what I'm doing, even in being almost 8 years sober, what I'm doing is I'm healing my inner child. All the trauma that I subjected myself to through the experience that I experienced along the way, whether it be mental, emotional abuse, the physical abuse or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? And it just carried over into my adult life, and I carried out. We only do what we know to do, right. And basically it's learned behaviors.
Yes, exactly.
So I had to now unlearn those learned behaviors. And I couldn't talk my way into a new way of living. I had to live my way into a new way of thinking. You know what I'm saying?
That's
Very
powerful.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Exactly. Marcus Jr., you quiet over there. Thought we was going to leave you out? Thought you was for the duck, huh? Yeah, you shaking your head, yeah. I got a question, Marcus Jr. How does it feel to have your dad in your life?
Feels good, has an impact on my life, and it really helps to have a father role model in my life.
Good. And you skateboard and you doing a lot, right?
Yeah.
So how is it? With him? With him, watching you to practice and fall and you get up and you see your dad there looking at you, feel good, huh?
Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of kids, you blessed. You blessed and you fortunate. Oh, when your dad talk about value that for the rest of your life, all right? You're going to be the best. Do everything you want to do. Don't let nothing stop you. Nothing.
And guess what else?
Yeah.
You got some uncles too. Because we networking. This is what about community healing. Anything positive. You got our website, our page. Tap in. Ask your daddy though, because that's your father. But tap in, and we can give you some advice as well. But I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? And again, like I say, for you, again, it's a beautiful thing to see your bond with your father. To continue to do that, right? It's always good. Like I said, I had to pat him on his back because I felt that. I got a bond with my father. I didn't have the opportunity to have a bond with my father. My father was an alcoholic. He passed away. He never overcame his demons. But I always wanted that bond with my father the way you got with yours. So, man, hold on to that, love that, grow in that. You know what I mean? Again, you have us as your uncles in regards to helping you have a clear understanding, to grow into a positive young man that you are. We'll do everything in our power to do that. That's what we're here for. It's all about community healing. So, again, I commend you and your father. I'm proud of him to say what you're saying to him in the audience. That's what I always want to be.
Yes, yes. And again, I just want to say one thing, though. It's a blessing, and I see you on Instagram, how you interacting with your son, and that's truly a blessing within itself. And keep doing that, and we hope other young brothers, other fathers see this and emulate what you're doing because you're doing a good job. And I just want to let you know that, man. And I follow you all the time. And if we can have more fathers like you interacting in our kids' life, guess what? Our kids won't be out here acting crazy, making early death decisions, winding up in prison, winding up with a gang of time, winding up in the graveyard at a very early age. So, man, I commend you and keep pushing, Marcus and Marcus Jr., man. Be proud of your father.
And that's the beauty of consequences of the street life, being able to know. A young man, let me back up. A man told me today, he's 27 years old, and they just opened up a sound shop down the street. So I was just talking, I just met him. And I was talking about podcasting, just business. This before he revealed his age to me. He said, "We too young to fail." I said, "Huh?" He just looking down, he just said, "We too young to fail." So I pondered. Now look at Marcus Jr. With that example, you too young to fail. Too young to fail. That means, so I had to understand what he said, ain't no failing. Because you got so many opportunities in front of you.
Yes, exactly.
With the right guidance right there. Yeah. Right guidance, Marcus.
That I can truly understand now when my parents told me that, being a parent, it don't come with a manual or an instruction book. I now understand that, and reintegrating myself back into his life. But it's a trip, it's a trip that the journey, it's never the destination, it's the journey. And like I said earlier, it's about healing that inner child. Yeah. And healing that inner child, you're going to walk through some pain.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to walk through some pain. But the thing about it is when you walk through it, you was ready for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And an example of that, he bucked. He bucked when I first got home. And, it's trip because while we in them walls, we create a script in our mind mentally how we think life is going to be when we walk out them walls. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And how the kids are just going to run to us and love us and accept us. But we failed to realize we was absent. We was absolutely absent physically, You know what I'm saying? That physical presence, and that play a role, that play a part. And I got some rude awakenings. It wasn't like that. Like with my youngest daughter, you know what I'm saying? She didn't want nothing to do with me. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like, it was hard. It was hard. You know what I'm saying? Him and my oldest, they was, but the challenge was yet to unfold as far as me and my son, right? And it's a trip because it's so surreal. We was at school, and I was up at the school to talk to him about something that the teacher had told me as far as him and other students, in the bathroom or whatnot. And so we standing in the schoolyard, and unknowingly and not even realizing, all the classrooms had went to their designated classrooms or whatnot. And so it was me and my son in the schoolyard. And as we was standing in the schoolyard, you know what I'm saying, my son told me, he was like, I don't want you in my life. I'm not going to be like you. I'm not going to prison like you. You know what I'm saying? I hate you. You know what I mean? And that was like ripping my heart out my chest. But at the same time, like we say, he entitled to his feelings.
Yes.
And now I'm experiencing the effects of me not being there. You know what I'm saying? Don't necessarily mean that those feelings are fact, but that he's speaking out. You know what I'm saying? And he's speaking out to his truth of what he's feeling in that moment. Don't mean that he don't love his dad. You know what I'm saying? He might be mad. He might be angry that dad wasn't there. It might have been an experience that he experienced in that 20 months that, you know what I'm saying? Where my dad at? You know what I'm saying? Where's my dad at right here? You feel me? Because when I realized what it was that I had experienced, it was after the situation, because we live life forward to understand it backwards.
Exactly.
It's only after I live through the situation do I come back to understand what it is that I done just walked through, right? And so I was in Vallejo. I was driving down Sonoma Boulevard in Vallejo, and then it hit me. I said, wow, what I just went through with my son, that was you. That was you, because he is you and you are him, right? That was you, except now you have now begun the process to break generational curses, because when it was you and you stood in the schoolyard and you wanted to turn around and you wanted to tell your father, hey, this man abused me. This man did what he did to me. You stood in the schoolyard by yourself. But when your son was ready to voice his feelings, when he turned, you was there.
So again, the consequence of the street life. That's how it affected his son. No, the consequences of the street life, the choices that you made being out there in the streets. That's how it impacted your son.
Absolutely.
How it's all in.
And that went back to my first question. Understanding the absence.
Yes.
Exactly.
And just a reminder to us all, right? You don't have to be famous to be a star.
Most definitely.
You don't have to be famous. We ain't on that. We ain't looking for we looking for the results.
Definitely.
That's what makes you a star. Having your own identity and owning it and knowing you and feeling proud of it. You know what I mean? That's a star to me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So again, 100 years, man, we here to make impact of healing, and we healing ourselves as we try to heal others. You know what I mean? And we know we can't do nothing alone. It takes a community, a village, a city, a nation, and a world to change, right? And so, yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing. And again, I just want to remind the people, subscribe to 100 Years DLP. Subscribe to 100 Years .biz. And, as well as all the other collective organizations. I may be forgetting one or two, but help me out.
Yeah. Instagram 100 Years DLP, website 100 Years .biz, our acronym 1HYE, and then we just spreading and growing it.
Most definitely. Where can they find you at?
They can find us, my page, Marcus Christopher Attwood on Instagram, my government name, and I did that by choice because for so many years I lived in false identities, you know, Lucky, you know, that was just my alter ego. And you know what's so cold? I'm going to give y'all a little something, right? Y'all remember the movie, The Nutty Professor?
Yeah.
Remember that movie, right? Well, guess what? Sherman Klump, right? Sherman Klump, he was kind, he was compassionate, he was patient, he cared about others, right? But he was uncomfortable in his skin. He didn't like who he saw in the mirror, right? So guess what? He made a potion, right? And he created who? Buddy Love. Buddy Love was his alter ego. Buddy Love was everything counterproductive to the good, to the right. You know what I'm saying? He was the left, right? And he was rude, obnoxious, arrogant, egotistical. You know what I'm saying? He was all them bad attributes, right?
Yeah.
But here's where it really kick in, right? So he made a potion, right? And that potion for me was alcohol. Feel me? The Nutty Professor. And I went nuts. You know what I'm saying? Crazy how movies have subliminals. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So my Instagram, people be like, man, you put your whole name on there. Yeah. Because I'm proud of who that is now.
Exactly.
I'm comfortable in being Marcus Christopher Attwood. I don't have to live in a mask. I don't have to be something who I'm not. I'll just show up as my authentic self. And who is meant for me is going to accept me and love me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So they can find me at Marcus Christopher Attwood, or they can find us at Team Attwood Skateboarding. You know what I'm saying? Team Attwood Skateboarding _ And the team means more than just saying what it says. Team is an acronym for Together Elevating All Members. Feel me? The village.
Yes.
That's what a village is. You feel me?
Exactly.
So it ain't just about one. It started with one,
Right.
but it's a bigger scope. It's a bigger picture. And it's about elevating and motivating and inspiring. That's what it say on the back of our business clothes. A clothing line that's designed to motivate and inspire. So when you put on our clothing, you know what it's representing. It's representing upliftment. It's
Most
representing encouragement.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
We appreciate that.
That's what we need in our communities throughout the world, is to uplift our peoples. It don't matter. We got to uplift our peoples the best that we can.
And check out my son on his Instagram. He got SACJIT, SACJITT. Check him out on Instagram. He's skateboarding. He's a man. People got him as a prodigy, up and coming, ahead of his time with the skateboard. He's been doing it since he was 3 years old.
That's what's up.
And
That's what's up.
he doing his
he
thing.
going.
He done been to Europe.
Oh, yeah. Marcus Jr. We appreciate you. You know, we are 100 Years Enterprise. And again, we thank you for coming in. My name is Fahim.
I'm Dante.
And I'm Patrick.
And we are 100 Years Enterprise. And we'll close out Season 4, Consequences of the Street Life.
Thanks again, Marcus and your son.
Season
Appreciate
3.
it.
Excuse
Yes,
me.
sir.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to come on here.
Most definitely.
Yes, sir.